Hello and welcome. You're listening to Ending Physician Overwhelm with Dr. Megan Mello. In this podcast, we look at why, as physicians, we often get stuck in feelings of overwhelm, anxiety, and burnout, and how we can break out of toxic thought patterns. My hope is that each episode gives you an opportunity to heal and to get more clear on how you want to show up in your life and your work. And now, let's get started. Hello, and welcome to our second episode entitled Why Thoughts Matter. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello, and I'm so glad that you're joining me here today. So, I didn't have what I would call the best understanding of why our thoughts were so important until about a year ago. And I know that sounds just bizarre to say out loud, but it's the truth. And it stands out to me that I'm one of these people with like a million different kinds of self-help books and positive psychology books and all kinds of resources all around me. So, I have to kind of laugh at myself, like, why didn't you get this sooner? What's wrong with you? But that's how it happened. And we hear what we need to hear when we're ready to hear it. That's what I believe. So anyway, let me tell you a story of how this all came to be. So about a year ago, in the spring of 2021, I was getting ready to leave my primary care practice. At the time, I thought I would be opening my own independent obesity medicine practice. And I was flipping through Facebook one day and I saw an ad for a class. It was a master class that a woman physician was offering called How to Feel Better. And I thought, well, I'd like to feel better. So I signed up. It was a free class. And the instructor is Dr. Karen Leitner, and she is an amazing physician and coach. And she gave this master class, and it was all about how our thoughts create our feelings. And this comes out of the training that she had through the Life Coach School. And anyone who's familiar with kind of the coaching world, this is a common approach to sort of this work. But I remember attending the class, and she showed me this thing called the model. And it said that our thoughts create our feelings. And you know that emoji with like the brain blowing out, like the cloud above the head of like, oh my God, my mind is blown. Like that was me. I was just like, what? My thoughts create my feelings. Get out of town. I wasn't upset about it like some people could be. I was just more like mind blown. And I remember I was walking with my husband, like I think it was later that day, and I was just like, this is really simple, but I kind of can't believe I didn't know this. Like, how did I not know that our thoughts create our feelings? And my husband was just kind of like, I don't know. he wasn't as sold on the concept as I was. But it really just jumped out of my mind. I was like, oh, my thoughts create my feelings. And, I can change my thoughts and then maybe I could feel better. Who knew? Okay. So long story short, I ended up signing up for her coaching program, and it was amazing. It was a journey through learning more about this whole thoughts, feelings thing. And eventually I signed up to be a coach myself, and I went and got training through the Life Coach School and got to really understand this concept called the model better with, it's really centered around our thoughts create our feelings. And it's only just gotten more and more clear to me how much this matters, especially when we're talking about physicians and burnout and overwhelm and anxiety. And so That's what we're talking about today. So let's think about where this shows up. So human brains have something like 40 to 60,000 thoughts every single day. And of course, if you're someone who's on the anxious side or like an overachiever type person, maybe you even have more than that. I don't know. You have a lot of thoughts, and many of them are thoughts that you're aware of, but a lot of them are thoughts that you're not aware of. Thoughts that are kind of showing up in the background. And whether you are aware or not aware of the thoughts, we are aware of the feelings. And, as physicians, the way that we're trained, we're really pretty highly trained to ignore our feelings. And I'm going to put aside the physical sensations for a while. So physical sensations would be like sleepiness, or like I need to go to the bathroom, or I'm hungry, or things like that. But we're talking about the emotional feelings that come up. So we might be aware that we are feeling angry, frustrated, embarrassed, ashamed, any of those things, but we're really good at shoving it down. Being like, no, brain, I don't have time for this. I've got a full schedule. I've got 3 cases in the OR. I've got, 20 patients to round on, like whatever it is. We're like, I don't have time for this feelings crap. Go away. And we have gotten really, really good at that. But we still have the feelings, right? We'll still be angry, irritable, pissed off, frustrated, embarrassed, like whatever it is. We'll still have those feelings, but we are resisting them. We're ignoring them. We're pushing them down. And when we do this, eventually it's going to come out. And so if our thoughts create our feelings, and our thoughts are the things that we can change, and our feelings get increasingly difficult, which is what is going on when you're feeling stuck in, burnout and overwhelm, right? When you're in that place, we need to start paying attention to our thoughts. Because if we pay attention to our thoughts and we start to work on the thoughts, then we are able to start making some headway on feeling better. The other part to mention there too is that, so our thoughts create our feelings, but our feelings drive our actions, right? And the way that we know this is true is, let's say you are trying to lose weight or start a new exercise habit, right? You know the actions. Right? The actions are, okay, I'm going to start packing my lunch, and I'm going to pack, a salad and some nuts and this and that. And that's what I'm going to eat. And that's going to help me lose weight. Or, I'm going to start an exercise habit. So I'm going to do 30 minutes every day. And, that's the action I need to take. But then when the day happens and you're feeling frustrated, angry, exhausted, overwhelmed, any of those things, right? And it's time to eat that lunch, or it's time to do the exercise because it's the time that you plan to go to the gym. When you're feeling those feelings, you're not likely to follow through on the actions that you had planned, right? If I'm feeling frustrated, I'm not as inclined to reach for that salad as I am to go and find some chocolate, right? And I know not everybody wrestles with that, but for people who have struggled to change a habit, to improve a habit, if our feelings drive our actions, that's why we have such a hard time following through on the actions that we plan, is because we're not taking into account that our feelings need to be in alignment to take those actions, right? If I want to be, choosing to do the workout, but I'm feeling angry or frustrated, working out may not feel like the thing that I can do. Okay, so thoughts create feelings, feelings drive our actions. And so where does this show up in our day-to-day? We often will think that the reason that we're feeling something is because of the circumstances that we're in, right? So I might be thinking, well, I'm overwhelmed because I'm a physician and we have a pandemic, right? Or I'm working in this particular job, and if I didn't work in this particular job, then I wouldn't be feeling overwhelmed. But when we go and we change the circumstance, so say we get to the other side of the pandemic, okay, and we're still a physician, but there's no more pandemic, do you feel less overwhelmed? If you move, and a lot of people, a lot of physicians have this, right, where we are working in one job and finally we get frustrated enough and we leave for another job, and it's great for a while, but then we start being overwhelmed and frustrated in that job too, right? Changing the circumstance generally doesn't change our outcome because we haven't changed our thoughts, right? So our thoughts about the circumstance, or our thoughts about being a physician and the things that we need to do and the things we ought to do and the things we should do, if we don't change how we show up, with kind of those thoughts that lead us to have difficulty. And, I talked about this in our last episode, thoughts like my worth is tied to how much I do for others, right? If you move to a different job, but you don't change that thought that your worth is tied to how much you do for other people, then pretty soon you're going to be doing overworking in that new job, and you're going to have the same outcome of feeling frustrated and overwhelmed. Another place that this shows up is that other people have the same circumstances that we do, but they have different outcomes. So other people may be doing the exact same job, and maybe they also have children and they also do this and that thing, but they feel different, which means they have different actions that they take, which means they have different results. And we might look at them and think, well, they're just magic. They're just lucky. There's something about them that makes that easier. We are discounting that the way that they think about things produces different feelings than what we have, produces different actions and outcomes. So, for example, maybe they have boundaries that they stop working every, evening at the same time, right? They have to leave. They've set that boundary, right? So they have a different thought going all throughout the day, and they follow through on that boundary. And, they have this feeling and that action and that result. And we're sitting there seething, being mad at them for having a boundary, thinking, how dare you, feel like you could leave at 5:30 every day? How dare you? Good doctors don't do that. How is that possible? I don't understand. Why do they have their charts done? Something's missing. They're doing something wrong, right? We're having all sorts of judgments and thoughts. And when we're doing that, right, we are not changing our own thoughts to be able to have different feelings that lead to different actions that lead to different outcomes, right? So other people have the same circumstances and they have different outcomes. And the thing that has control over is their thoughts. Another way this shows up is that we often want to skip the thoughts and feelings part, and we want to just change our actions, right? So again, this comes up, when we're trying to work on health habits or losing weight or, closing our charts earlier or things like that. So we want to change the action. And we're like, ooh, Well, I'm just going to do this better. Tomorrow, I am going to start exercising for 30 minutes and I'm going to start exercising every single day. And then I'll get the result I want of, being someone who runs or, being stronger or like whatever it is that we want, then I'll just be better. And what happens, right? The day happens, our thoughts and feelings are just kind of running amok, right? We're not doing anything to touch them. And, we get to the time that we had designated to exercise, but, we're behind on our work and we're feeling frustrated and tired and overwhelmed because there's been too much work that day. Do we then have success with the exercise? Usually not. The same is true with our eating, right? Again, if we have the thought, that we want to change the action, right? So we want to, I don't know, start eating more vegetables, right? And we go through the day and we're super stressed. And, we get home and we had planned to make this beautiful soup full of all these vegetables. And we've got all the vegetables, they're all right there and they can be chopped. But we're feeling like, you know what? I'm tired. I've had an awful day. Everybody needed too much, from me today. Let's get a pizza. Right? Because you're acting from the feeling. You can't have a whole lot of success focusing on the actions if you're not addressing the thoughts and feelings part, right? Some of the time you can sort of force yourself to take the actions. All right, we're going to chop up all the veggies and make soup. But a lot of the time, you, as a normal human being, are going to take actions from your feelings. So if you're feeling stressed, anxious, frustrated, overwhelmed, exhausted, are you gonna, chop up all the veggies and make this beautiful soup that takes, 45 minutes to make? Or are you gonna collapse on the couch and order a pizza? I know that particular thing is not an issue for everyone listening, but I would just want to highlight that we don't usually have a whole lot of success when we focus on the actions rather than thinking about the thoughts and feelings. So I'd like to invite you to start being more aware and more curious about your thoughts and feelings, especially if you are frequently feeling frustrated, angry, ashamed, overwhelmed, embarrassed, a lot of these negative emotions, stressed. When you're having lots of that, start by getting aware of what your thoughts are, right? When you get home at the end of the day and everybody's been like, crazy needy, of whatever you do at work. And, then your kids are needy and everybody's needing everything from you, and finally, like, okay, you're done with work and, the kids are asleep and you've left with this feeling that everybody needs you. Like, what have you been thinking that's contributing to that? Have you been thinking thoughts such as, I have to respond to everybody's needs? I have to put others' needs above my own? My needs don't matter? I have to serve all the other humans? We have to start by becoming aware of what those thoughts are in order to start feeling better. And the goal is not spending an hour, journaling deep dive, every day. The goal is simply to start noticing the feeling in the moment and getting a little curious. What am I thinking right now that has me feeling this way? So I'm feeling angry. What am I thinking? I'm thinking that not everybody should be coming at me with all the things right now. start the process of getting curious about your thoughts and your feelings. And just imagine what you could have in your life if you could start to be really clear on your thoughts and start to even choose thoughts that serve you in a really helpful way. Thoughts that help you to have a broader range of feelings, both positive feelings as well as, we all have negative emotions, but negative emotions that you can be really aware of so that they are not running your life. Imagine what it would be like to have more clarity on what thoughts are creating what feelings, and the ability to start using that as a tool to feel better. If you're feeling constantly anxious, irritable, overwhelmed, frustrated, what if you could identify the thoughts and change the thoughts so you had less of those feelings? What would that create in your life? That's some of the amazing work that we can do when we start to get really clear on our thoughts and feelings. And when we can improve our control over the thoughts, not eliminating all of the scary, icky thoughts, but working on them so that overall we're more in control, we're more in alignment. What does that create in terms of our feelings and the actions we're able to accomplish and the things we're able to get in our life? It's transformational. All right, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. This is, like I said, our second episode, and I hope to just continue these conversations. Please feel free to leave a comment for me, as well as please, of course, like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye. Listening to Ending Physician Overwhelm. If you learned something today or felt moved, please share this episode with a colleague. You can also learn more about me and my coaching practice by heading over to www.healthierforgood.com. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.